Brandon Miller did not become the fastest 800 ms runner in the world at the 2026 Prefontaine Classic. That title still belongs to Cooper Lutkenhaus, who ran 1:42.08 in Oslo just 3 weeks earlier. But what Miller did on July 3rd at Hayward Field was something bigger than a fast time. He ended a perfect season, and he did it from dead last place with barely a lap to go. Cooper Lutkenhaus was only 17 years old, still a junior at Northwest High School in Justin, Texas, and he had not lost an outdoor 800 ms race all year. In March, he flew to Torun and won the World Athletics Indoor Championship in 1:44.24, beating Belgium's Elliot Crestan by just 0.14 of a second. That win made him the youngest individual world champion in the history of track and field, indoors or outdoors, at 17 years and 93 days old. He did not walk into that final either. He grinded through a heat, then a tough semifinal the night before, clocking 1:44.29 just to reach the medal race. He carried that momentum outdoors. On June 7th, he made his Diamond League debut in Stockholm and beat a field that included 2023 world champion Marco Arap, running 1:42.70. That made him the youngest athlete ever to win a Diamond League race since the series started in 2010. 3 days later in Oslo, he lined up next to Emmanuel Wanyonyi of Kenya, the reigning Olympic and world champion. Lutkenhaus took the lead with 200 meters left and held off a hard charge to win by 1/100th of a second, running his personal best of 1:42.08. That time is still the world lead for 2026, and only Bryce Hoppel and Josh Hoey have ever run faster on American soil. By the time he reached Eugene, he was 6 for 6 as a professional outdoors. Nobody had touched him. While all that hype built around a teenager, Brandon Miller was working quietly. He is 24 years old, from St. Louis, Missouri, and runs for the Brooks Beast Track Club. He made it to the semi-final at the 2024 Paris Olympics, but missed the final. Before that, running for Texas A&M, he won the NCAA Indoor 800 title and set the American collegiate record of 1:45.24. Then came 2025, and it hurt. Miller finished 5th at the USATF Outdoor Championships, missing the World Championships team in Tokyo by about half a second. He has talked about how much that loss stung, saying he and his coach carried that feeling into every single practice after it happened. That pain built into this season. In May, he won the LA Track Fest at Ookla's Drake Stadium, holding off Britain's Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman in 1:44.26. Then on June 14th, he won the USATF LA Grand Prix in a season-best 1:43.94, timing a perfect move around Kerr on the final turn. 2 wins in 2 months against real fields, and almost nobody outside the sport noticed. So when both men lined up at Hayward Field for the Prefontaine Classic, the question was not who is the best young talent in America. The question was simple. Can anyone actually beat Cooper Lutkenhaus outdoors? Or is Brandon Miller finally about to get the moment he has been chasing all year? The field around them made it even harder to predict. Donavan Brazier, the 2019 world champion, was in the race. So was Bryce Hoppel, the American record holder at 1:41.67. So was Elliot Crestan, the same man Lutkenhaus beat for indoor gold months earlier. 11 men lined up for one of the deepest 800 ms fields assembled anywhere this year. The pacemaker, Lloyd Freeland, went out way too fast, hitting 400 meters in 49.88 seconds. Lutkenhaus let him go and settled into his own rhythm, passing 400 meters in 51.01 seconds, still in total control at the front. But Brandon Miller was nowhere near the front. He got boxed in early on the rail, runners closing in around him from every side, and with 350 meters left to go, he was sitting in 9th place, dead last in an 11-man field with barely a lap left to fix it. Anyone watching would have written him off right there. Lutkenhaus still led at the bell, but something had changed. He passed 600 meters in 1:18.06, more than a second slower than the pace that carried him to his personal best in Oslo. The finishing kick that beat an Olympic champion 3 weeks earlier was not showing up. Meanwhile, Miller stayed calm. He started threading through traffic off the back straight, still buried in ninth, easing past one runner, then another, without wasting a single stride. By the final bend, he had already climbed from ninth all the way into the front pack. And that is when he made his move. With 150 meters left, Miller swung wide off the final turn and accelerated past a tiring Lutkenhaus in one clean motion. Lutkenhaus tried to answer on the outside, but Miller was already gone. Down the home straight, he pulled away completely, crossing the line in 1:43.68, a season best, with his final 200 meters covered in just 25.39 seconds. Lutkenhaus held on for second in 1:44.62, his own closing 200 slowing to 26.56 seconds, more than a full second off his usual finish. Donavan Brazier took third in 1:44.86. Bryce Hoppel finished fourth in 1:45.05. Elliot Crestan crossed fifth in 1:45.11. It was Lutkenhaus's first outdoor 800 meters loss of the entire season, and his first loss to an American outdoors since Brazier beat him at the 2025 USATF Outdoor Championships. The crowd at Hayward Field had shown up expecting to watch a teenager make history one more time. Instead, they watched a 24-year-old cash in on a year of near misses and quiet training. Both men handled it the same way after the race. Miller did not celebrate alone. He called Lutkenhaus an amazing competitor and said racing against him pushes him to get better. Lutkenhaus did not make a single excuse either. He said it was not a great race, but if 1:44 is his bad race, he is happy with that. And that says everything about how good this 17-year-old already is, even on an off night. This is not the end of the story either. The USATF Outdoor Championships are coming later this month, the exact meet where Miller missed his spot a year ago, and where Lutkenhaus plans to close out his season. One man is chasing his first real signature win on the biggest stage. The other is trying to prove Eugene was not a fluke. The rivalry between the patient veteran and the fearless teenager is just getting started. And the next chapter is only weeks away.
Nobody had Audrey Wero winning this race. Nobody. Keely Hodgkinson walked into the Stockholm Diamond League on June 7, 2026 as the Olympic champion, fresh off breaking the world indoor 800-meter record, unbeaten all season, and with a public promise to go the entire year without losing a single 800-meter race. That promise lasted exactly one outdoor race, because a 22-year-old Swiss athlete nobody seriously feared came out of nowhere and ran 1 minute 53.98 seconds, the third fastest 800-meter time in the history of women's running. Let that sink in for a second. To understand why this is so insane, you need to know where Keely Hodgkinson was coming into this race. The 24-year-old from Atherton, England, trained by the husband and wife duo Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadows out of Wigan, had arguably the greatest indoor season any 800-meter runner has ever had. In February, she ran 1:54.87 in Live in France, smashing a 23-year-old world indoor record by nearly a full second. Then in March, she took World Indoor Championships. She was not just good, she was the best in the world by a massive margin, and everyone knew it. Her goal this season was the one record nobody has touched in 43 years, Jarmila Kratovlov's outdoor world record of 1:53.28, set back in 1983, the oldest world record in track and field. Before Stockholm, she ran a 400-meter at the Rome Diamond League finish, but that was deliberate, a speed-building exercise. She clocked a half-second personal best in the 400 as part of the plan to get faster for the big 800-meter assault later in the year. Everything was on track. Now let's talk about the woman who ended that perfect run. Audrey Wero, 22 years old. From Switzerland, turns 23 this year. She had been quietly building for a while, European under-23 champion, long-time age group circuit regular, and someone who finished second behind Hodgkinson at World Indoors in March, but well off the pace, to the point where almost nobody considered her a genuine threat for the one. The one warning sign came just 1 week before Stockholm, on May 31st, at the Rome Diamond. She ran 1:56.56, the fastest time in the world that year up to that point. People barely noticed. Big mistake. The The race itself was set up to be fast. The pacing lights were dialed in for 1:54.0 flat, meaning from the gun the field was chasing something serious. Wiro tucked in directly behind the pacemaker. Hodgkinson settled into third. They came through the first lap in 54 seconds, egregiously fast, one of only a handful of first lap splits ever recorded anywhere near that quick. At 500 meters, Keely made the move she always makes. She surged past the pacemaker, took the lead, and expected to pull away. That is how every race of hers goes. Instead, Wiro came with her, completely glued. The two of them broke off from the rest of the field together, leaving everyone else behind. Rounding the final bend, Keely looked strained, which makes sense given that pace. Wiro looked almost calm, and in the final 100 meters, Wiro found a gear nobody knew she had, powered past the Olympic champion, and hit the line first. Keely said afterwards, "I saw her shadow and I was like, no, she's not going to do it. She did it." Wiro's winning time of 1:53.98 makes her only the third woman in history to break 1 minute 54 seconds. The only two faster are Kratochvlov at 1:53.28 and Nadezhda Olizarenko at 1:53.43. And here is the part that every serious track fan already knows but needs saying again: those two times were run inside the Soviet and Eastern Bloc state-sponsored doping era. Olizarenko ran her 1:53.43 at the 1980 Moscow Olympics, an event so chemically corrupt it was literally nicknamed the Chemist Games, where not a single athlete tested positive because the host country ran the testing. Kratochvlov ran hers in 1983 at the tail end of the same era. A huge number of diehard fans consider Wiro's 1:53.98 the real world record. More importantly, she jumped from the 34th fastest woman ever to the third fastest in a single race, cutting almost 2 full seconds off her personal best. That is one of the most dramatic single race jumps through the all-time list this event has ever seen. And Hodgkinson's 1:54.33 in second place was a British record and the 6th fastest time in history. She ran the race of her life and still lost. That tells you exactly how good Wiro was on that day. What happened after the race told the story even better than the clock. Wiro was visibly stunned. She said, "I still need to process. I am still in shock." She said in the final 100 meters, she still had energy left in her legs, and she just committed, completely treating it like the final of the European Championships. Her main goal this season is gold at Europeans in Birmingham in August, and she said plainly, "Maybe now my goal is the gold medal." Then she added the big one: the world record is also now on her radar. Meanwhile, Keely was honest and fired up at the same time. She admitted she was shocked, but she said, "I won't let that happen again." And then came the quote that matters most: "Now I believe the world record can fall this year." Her target is the London Diamond League in July, and she is going there specifically to attack 1:53.28. Here is what has genuinely changed after Stockholm. 3 days ago, this was one athlete chasing an impossible record alone. Now it is a 2-woman race. Wiro is 22. Hodgkinson is 24. Both are still approaching their primes. Both tend to run their fastest times later in the season, peaking around August and September, which is exactly when the European Championships and World Athletics Championships land. Wiro holds the edge in raw numbers right now, faster 400-meter and 800-meter PRs. Hodgkinson has the experience, the consistency, and frankly the anger now. The world record sits at 1:53.28, and 1:53.98 is still 70 hundredths away from it, but for the first time in 43 years, there are 2 women young enough, fast enough, and hungry enough to go get it together. The big question is simple: who takes it first? And do you think it happens this year? Drop your answer below, because this season just became one of the most exciting in middle distance history. Noah Lyles just ran 9.88 seconds in Rome and walked straight to the microphone and said something so bold that the entire sprint world stopped scrolling. This was not just another Diamond League win. This was a message, a warning, and it had 2 names on it. Let me take you inside what actually happened on June 4th, 2026 at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy during the Golden Gala Pietro Manea, one of the most respected stops on the Wanda Diamond League circuit. The field that night was not normal. You had Marcel Jacobs, the man who won 100-meter gold at the Tokyo Olympics. You had Letsail Tebogo from Botswana, the reigning Paris Olympic 200-meter gold medalist. You had Ferdinand Omanyala, the African record holder who had already run under 10 seconds 5 times this year and came into Rome telling everyone the roof was about to blow off. You had Emmanuel Sma from Cameroon, and then you had Jordan Anthony, the 21-year-old American who trains at the exact same facility as Lyles every single day under coach Lance Braun common at Pure Athletics in Clermont, Florida. The same Jordan Anthony, who back in March 2026 at the U.S. Indoor Championships beat Noah Lyles in the 60-meter dash and then pulled out a fake heavyweight championship belt and paraded around like he had just taken the crown. That belt moment was everywhere, and Lyles did not forget it, not even close. When the gun fired in Rome, Lyles did not win the start. He never does. His reaction time was actually the slowest in the field. Through 60 meters, the race was still completely open. The field was right there with him, but then came the final 20 meters. His stride pattern shifted, his turnover accelerated, and one by one, every single man in that race got left behind. Lyles crossed the line in 9.88 seconds. Sma came in second at 9.94, which was a brand new Cameroon national record. Tobogo took third in 9.95. Jordan Anthony faded to fourth in 9.96. Marcel Jacobs finished fifth in 9.99 in front of his home crowd. 5 men under 10 seconds in the same race. And Omanyala, the man who promised fireworks, finished 8th in 10.11. The roof did not blow off for him. It fell on him. The moment Lyles crossed that finish line ahead of Jordan Anthony, he turned around and did something that needs no explanation. He pretended to hold up a championship belt. Right there on the track, in front of everybody. Same belt Anthony had waved around back in March. No words, no interview needed. The belt was back. Lyles took it in 9.88 seconds flat. Then came the interview, and Lyles was not done talking. He told reporters straight up, 10 meters before the finish line, I knew the race was over and I had already won it. I was thinking about how I was going to celebrate. Read that again. With 90 meters of the race already behind him and 10 meters still to go, Noah Lyles was not thinking about running. He was picking his celebration. That is not arrogance. That is a man who is completely locked in and completely untouchable right now. He also said, I am not showing up anywhere to lose. And then he went on Instagram and posted a story with 7 words that have now gone all over the internet. He wrote, got to rock these kids to sleep. Those kids he is talking about. One of them is Jordan Anthony. But the bigger name, the one that has the whole track world buzzing right now, is Gout, 18 years old, from Australia. And this kid is not just fast, he is historically fast. On April 12, 2026 at the Sydney Olympic Park during the 2026 Australian Athletics Championships, Gout stepped into the blocks for the 200-meter final and ran 19.67 seconds with a legal wind reading of plus 1.7 meters per second. That time did not just break a record. It shattered the under-20 world record that belonged to American star Ariane Knighton, who ran 19.69 back in 2022. World Athletics has now officially ratified that time. No asterisk, no debate. Gout is now the fastest teenager to ever walk the planet Earth. Here is what makes that number terrifying. At 18 years old, Usain Bolt's lifetime best in the 200-meter was 19.93 seconds. Gout at the same age is 0.26 seconds faster than the greatest sprinter in human history was at that exact same point in his career. In sprinting, 0,026 seconds is not a small gap. That is the difference between winning a gold medal and not even making the final. And Gout is still only 18. Sprinters peak between 23 and 26 years old. He has at minimum 6 more years of natural physical development ahead of him. Lyles has actually spoken about Gout directly, and what he said tells you everything. He looked into the camera and said, he is more talented than I was. Coming from the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion and 4-time 200-meter world champion, that is not a compliment. That is a warning wrapped inside a compliment. Because in the same breath, Lyles also said talent alone will not survive the professional grind. He knows exactly what Gout is. And he is not scared. He is ready. Because on June 16th, 2026, at the Ostrava Golden Spike meet in the Czech Republic, Noah Lyles and Gout are going to share a track for real. The event is the 150-meter race. Not a championship, not the Olympics, but it is the first major head-to-head moment between the man who owns the sport right now and the teenager the sport is being built around next. If Gout wins that race, the conversation shifts overnight. A new era officially begins. If Lyles wins, his Instagram post becomes the most famous 7 words of the 2026 season. Either way, June 16th just became the most important date in track and field right now. Rome told us Noah Lyles is not fading. He is not slowing down. He is not handing anything to anybody. He took back the belt from Jordan Anthony. He called out Gout in front of the whole world. And he did it all while running the second fastest 100-meter time on the planet this year. The king is not stepping aside, and Gout is not waiting. June 16th is coming fast, and somebody is about to get rocked to sleep. A 16-year-old just ran so fast that people watching couldn't believe what they saw. No hype, no exaggeration, just a teenager from a small city in Australia who stepped onto a track and did something that nobody had done in 15 years. His name is Ayo Lubenda, and if you don't know that name yet, you're about to. Last Friday, at the Queensland State Championships, Ayo ran 100 meters in 10.35 seconds. That's not just fast, that's fast enough to pass the first round at this year's World Championships. Think about that for a second. A 16-year-old kid from Townsville just ran a time that grown adults competing at the biggest track meet on the planet couldn't beat in the opening rounds. The previous record for 16-year-olds at this championship was 10.73 seconds, set back in 2010 by a runner named Hugh Donavan. That record sat untouched for 15 years. Ayo didn't just break it, he destroyed it by 0.38 seconds. Before this race, his personal best was 10.42 seconds, meaning he improved his own time and smashed a 15-year-old record in the same run. When the race started, Ayo exploded out of the blocks, took the lead immediately, and never looked back. By the finish line, the gap between him and everyone else was massive. After the race, former Olympic runner Paul Dybella, who competed for Australia at both the 2000 Sydney Olympics and the 2004 Athens Olympics, came forward and gave Ayo his gold medal. That's the kind of moment that tells you everything about how serious people took what they just watched. When reporters asked Ayo how he felt, he said, "Man, I feel amazing. I was kind of hoping for a time like that and I wasn't thinking too much about it, but I'm really grateful." His coach told him to stay calm, do what he normally does, and don't change anything. Everything went according to plan. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. Ayo was born in Mozambique in 2009. When he was just 4 years old, his family moved to Australia in 2013. He's currently a Year 11 student at Calvary Christian College in Townsville, which sits in northern Queensland. Last year, he became the first 15-year-old in North Queensland history to run faster than 11 seconds in the 100 meters, clocking 10.80 seconds at the North Queensland Championships. People noticed him then, but outside his local area, almost nobody knew his name. One race changed all of that. If you follow sprinting, you already know the name Gout Gout. He's 17 years old, also from Queensland, and he's been called the next Usain Bolt for very good reason. At the Golden Spike meet in Ostrava, Czech Republic, Gout ran the 200 meters in 20.02 seconds, breaking an Australian national record that had stood for 56 years.